name. Here we see his whole name, and we can decipher that. This is Shemes, the follower. And usually what they did, they put a little determinative at the end of the word to give you some idea as to what they are trying to convey. So we know this guy was a follower, or he was in the company of someone. His name was Sinres, which means the vigilant brother. Also here we see very important abbreviation here, Ma'aheru, which means true of voice. So that means he's been justified, or he's been judged as being true of voice. Here his wife, very interesting, her name, Kemet F. At the end of this symbol here, which is a biliteral, one symbol that represents two letters, him, then here's a T, which makes it a feminine word. Kemet F, this is a third person singular suffix pronoun, his wife. So we know who she is. Kemet F, Nebet Per. Okay, so she is the mistress of the house. Nebet, it means lord or mistress. With the T, it makes it feminine. And her name right here, Herumes, born of Heru, or born of Horus, as the Greeks call it. Now the posture is very interesting. He's sitting here and he's holding a lotus flower. The lotus flower represented regeneration. In the evening, as you know, lotus flowers go under the ground, but they appear every morning again. So he's holding these, all of these symbols represent regeneration, and this is what the Khimshu wanted at death. They wanted to make sure that they would come back, that they would not be annihilated.
The ancient Egyptians.
The ancient Khimshu.
Right. But go on and explain.
Okay.
Go on and
They were
explain.
not Khimshu. Egyptian is, we'll get to that.
No, get to it now. I
Okay,
want to make sure that people know what you're saying.
Yeah, the Egypt or Egyptian is a Greek word. These were not Greeks. You know, the Greeks came in about 300 BCE. But this is a very ancient civilization.
So go ahead.
So let me go ahead. We'll come. The posture is very important. They carve these things to give you the best view. So if you see the full profile here, and notice the hair. You see, it's almost like the braids that you see today. And she's actually sitting beside him, although it looks like she's sitting behind him. But in order to give you that view, they had to carve the person that way, because if you see, the feet are always pointed where you can see that side view. They're sitting before an offering table here with bread and a lot of other offerings. Now, let's look at what this was for, or the stele. Begin to decipher some of this Medu here. This is a very interesting grouping here. And it's the Hotep Denisu. Hotep Denisu means an offering that the king gives. The reason it's so interesting grammatically is because this is what you call a graphic transposition with honorific intent. The name of the king was always written first, or the symbol for king, and then the other words next. This word here, D, it means to give, and it's a conical loaf. Now this is very important here.
Conical loaf.
Loaf of bread.
Oh,
yeah, loaf
right.
of bread.
All right.
Yeah. Now this symbol is very important here. It's a triliteral. Remember we talked about a biliteral. Mm-hmm. Now down here we have a triliteral, which is one symbol that represents 3 characters. A word that you hear all of the time, but here it does peace. It means an offering. And if you begin to look at it, this is a reed mat. This is all this is a mat. And you're looking at it from the top view. And on top of it, you see a loaf of bread. And when this is a very ancient, it's so-called pre-dynastic. And the Africans continue to use this throughout the whole history of Kemet, this Hotep symbol. Although they carved their altars out of stone, they kept the same symbol of the reed mat and the loaf of bread. These 2 symbols here, this is a P and this is a T, and we call these phonetic complements. What they do, they clarify the word, they complete the word, as it were. It's like a finishing touch, okay. You know. Now here we have Wisir. The Greeks called him Osiris, but the name is Wisir.
So you're going from right to left.
Yes, you read into the characters. If you see they're facing this way, so you read into them. That's a very interesting point that you bring up. the characters never had the temerity to turn their back on you, you know, unless they were going away. It meant to turn around. But even if you were looking at, if you were walking through a doorway, the characters on the right would face this way, the characters on the left would face this way, and there would be a division at the top. The characters on the top right would face this way, and the characters on the top left would face that way. So, yeah. So you read into the characters. Yeah, it's almost like looking at a never-ending play. You're greeting the characters as you pass them by. Jedu. This is a very interesting symbol that we'll get to in a minute. This means city, town, or place. Keep that in mind because that's very important. Ea Necha. So let's look at what we've read. An offering that the king gives to Wisir, Lord of Jedu, great God. Now that's an epithet that's only reserved for the Netchers. The king was called Netcher Nefer, which meant the good God, but never the great God, always only for the Netchers. We drop down to line 2. Not only is he Lord of Jedu, Lord of Abdu, DF.
Jedu being what?
Jedu is Abydos.
Okay.
Yeah, you're thinking of Abdu. This is Jedu. Jedu. This is Abydos. That he might give funerary offerings. Per Heru, T Hinket, Kau Apedu, Sesh. So he wants funerary offerings of beer and bread. This is beer and bread, cattle and fowl, and linen. This is incense, oil, everything good and pure that a God needs to live on. You see, now this is very interesting here because this is offered for the Ka, and there's an interesting the Ka, the spirit, the essence, your essence.
That's good.
And the Ka lived in the tomb.
You know, we don't discuss this every week. You know,
Yeah.
you got to remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
You say the car as though everybody's supposed to know what the car is.
Okay, that's
folks might think of, you know,
driving the car.
Oh, this is Ka.
K.
Right.
Ka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And this, the Ka was the tomb was the house of the Ka. That's where it is. And the interesting thing about this is there's a statement that offer to me with what is in your hand. If by chance there's nothing in your hand, then say it with your mouth. So you see, words had power. You know, they had power. Just by you repeating the Hotep Denesu formula, even if you were poor and you didn't have anything, the person's Ka would receive these things. You know, yeah. Words of power, words of God, Medu Netcher. And you see here, this symbol here, we go down to the third line. So we'll prove that it's the Ka. In, Ka, in. For the Ka of. The follower, it's the same word you see here as you saw at the top. The follower, Sin Res, which is the vigilant brother. In here you have a little interesting determinative. This is a seated man. See, they put this behind it so that you'll know that they're talking about a person. Ma'aheru, in Hemet F. Ma'aheru, remember, means true of voice or justified by his wife, Sa'ankh. It is Sa'ankh. This is a causative, the causative form, who causes Ren F, his name, to live. Who causes to live his name, but it's the same thing. Who causes his name to live?
Which means?
You know, speak his name, you know, that he might live. You know, yeah. And then again, you see, they give her a title again. See, the same as above. Here it is. Nebet Per, Heru Mes, born beautiful of Heru. This is, Lacona, this is a little washed out here, but we've argued over this quite a bit. We know that this is the symbol for beautiful.
But for this whole stele, it's about a deceased person.
Deceased person, yes.
And these writings have what purpose?
These writings ensure that what he's doing is ensuring that his car gets the offerings that it needs, the sustenance that it needs.
So loosely that might be interpreted, very loosely, as a soul.
Yeah, you can interpret it as a soul.
Loosely. I mean, we got the bar and the car. But,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So loosely.
Yeah. All right. So that's basically what this stele represents.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll come back. All right.
Good evening and welcome to For the People. Over the years, we've done many programs on ancient Egyptian, or more appropriately, ancient Kemetic history. We've looked at the religion of ancient Egypt, or Kemet, the science, the mathematics, and other aspects of Kemetic history. In this program, we'll explore the written language of ancient Kemet, the language they called Medu, and known by us as hieroglyphics. We're talking with the first African American to write a grammar book on the language of ancient Kemet, or Egypt, Mr. Ankh. His book is entitled Let the Ancestors Speak, Removing the Veil of Mysticism from Medu. First, let me ask you about the title of your book. What's in there?
Let the Ancestors Speak. Well, it's very interesting. I think that it's really a challenge to people to begin to learn to read the language for themselves. And by reading the language for yourself, then the ancestors will speak, as it were. It's a play on words. You don't need anyone else to interpret the language for you. And also, thanks to Dr. Hilliard, one of our good friends, he was very
Asa Hilliard.
Yeah, he was very instrumental rather, in helping me develop the title. He would say all the time, "Let the ancestors speak." I mean, we don't have to make up anything. It's written here.
And removing the veil of mysticism.
Right.
The second part of it.
Yeah, there's so much mysticism and hocus pocus surrounding this language. This language is you're able to express any thought that you can think of in modern times with this language. There is no mysticism.
Why do you think so much mysticism, as you say, has surrounded this language? It's almost like, it's something that is unreachable by most people. It's like a little secret club of people who can read this language. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's the reason it's there, to keep the club. But once you are able to read the language, you'll find out, or if you study the language, you'll find out it's just almost like learning any other language.
It's a club of basically European scholars.
European scholars, yeah. And what I want people to do is to really look at this from your own internal frame of reference. You see, we cannot allow people to continue to cut Kemet off from the rest of Africa.
Egypt,
Yeah, Egypt. Geographically, it's in Africa. The people are Africans. And the language which produces culture or transmits culture is an African language. There is no debate about that. They told you who they were. We know what they call their country.
Now, what's the importance of this book? What's the importance of learning this language? Why is it important for us to begin to look at this language and know it and become familiar with it?
Well, I can answer that by asking the question, why is it important to learn Greek? Or why is it important to learn the Latin language? This is the classical language of Africa. By extension, it's the classical language of Africans. So, I mean, it would just seem logical that we would take this classical language and plus there is so much literature written in this language. There is so much information. It's a great body of knowledge that we'd be missing if we don't read this ourselves.
So what are some of the things that let us know that this is an African language? And I know you have some.
Okay. What I want to do is let you look in the face of old Africa. Okay. And let me hold up just a couple of them.
We can get on this. Move my cup out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I know you've seen this before. This is
Talk some, if you will, about the use of animals in this language before you even?
Okay, they were used very extensively in the language. The animals that you find are you can find in Central Africa or Equatorial Africa. You know, this is the Cape buffalo. Now, you know, when you look at the Narmer palette, it's very sterile. You don't see the animal itself, but this is the buffalo that you see. Also with that lion that you see. Now, you know, I like to teach kids Medu nature, and I do that. And I say the best way to teach kids Medu nature is to take them to the zoo. That way you get a feel for the language.
I want you to explain why so many animals are in these writings, so that people understand.
These are the expressions of God. You see, the ancient
They looked at nature.
They looked at nature, you know, and the nature, or Medu nature, is the expression of God. It is God made manifest on a physical plane, you know. And they used animals, they used the plants. Everything became an actor.
Because they looked at the different characteristics of the animals.
Over thousands of years, you know,
Okay, go ahead.
The next one, I think is very interesting.
Did you finish your thought about that?
Oh, yeah, only that it's on the Narmer palette. And when you look at this thing, you see this thing is sheer terror. You know, I mean, pure aggression. You know, and the king was known as sometimes the great bull. You know, or you even see Kalutef, which is the name you see of in a lot of kings' names, bull of his mother. So they were always known as the bull or aggressive. And on the normal palette, you see him goring his enemies.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
Okay. Now
I'll take this. Go ahead.
All right. Let me put this one up here. This is very interesting here. NRT. It's an African vulture. But the interesting thing about this is a tool-using bird. You know, and if you notice here, let me see here is an egg.
Yeah, I just saw that on PBS, a program the other night.
Yeah.
Go ahead, explain
What they're doing is dropping these rocks on the egg. And interesting.
Is that an ostrich egg? Or what is it?
This looks like an ostrich egg, yeah. Sometimes they're too big for the birds to break with the beak, so what they do, they'll drop rocks on them. You know, and if they don't find the proper rock, what they do, they'll bombard the thing. Got it wrong way. Here we go. Yeah. So they'll even use ammunition from the air to break the egg.
They're kamikaze.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if you know, you see, if you look at
flying with the rock in its hand, in its beak,
right?
to be dropped on the egg.
Yeah. And you know, the interesting thing about this, if you look at the animals, you see them live, and then you can see what the Africans saw every waking day. You see, you use what's around you to construct your language.
Okay, but the point that you're making is that this animal is used in the Medu nature for hieroglyphics.
Right.
Okay. And it's an African animal.
It's an African animal.
Okay.
It's an African culture,
Okay.
yes.
Now, maybe I can come back to this, but what's this NRT? What's that other?
That's the Medu nature.
Okay.
That's the symbols. Here's an N, an R, and here's a T. Remember we talked about determinatives?
Okay.
I don't know whether you can get that.
Let's see. Yeah, we can get it right there.
Yeah. Here's your N, your R, and your T over here. And of course, that's the determinative.
Okay.
You know? So you see, we have examples of Medu nature that
so that's pronounced in what way? How's that?
You know, now that's something very strange. The instructor has the prerogative of pronouncing it the way he wants to. I guess the closest we can get is Coptic, but no one really knows how this language is supposed to be pronounced. What Egyptologists have done, they've inserted the short E between consonants, like you would be N-E-R-E-T.
Keep it simple now.
Yeah. It could be pronounced Neret. We don't know. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go to the next one here. Of course, the donkey, the ever-laboring donkey. Up here in the corner, you see the Medu nature for this also. You see, the reason I'm showing you this is to show you that these people had knowledge, you know, of these animals, because if they didn't, these symbols would not be written in Medu nature. You see. We'll get to the interesting ones in a little while.
Okay.
The horse, of course, we were told that the horse was brought into ancient Kemet, which wasn't true.
Okay.
You know.
So you find the horse in the written language.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Very interesting. The next one.
Mm-hmm.
Here. Abe, which is the leopard.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Now, you know, look at the surroundings in which you find this. There's no getting around it. You know, we know where these things come from.
So you're saying that these animals are in Africa?
Yeah.
Not in Europe?
Not in Europe.
And
not in Asia.
Uh-huh.
These are African animals.
And one would expect to find European animals.
Yeah.
On supposedly European hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is just give you an idea of
the environment.
The environment, right, which produced this language.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. This is an interesting one, right here. The giraffe, meme. Now, it's also used as a determinative. And what a determinative is the symbol that's put at the end of a word.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put a determinative at the end of the word, it gives you some idea of what that word means. And the word that is put at the end of is sr, sir, and it means to foretell.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the giraffe is tall and he can see far, or
Mm-hmm.
foresightedness.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, this was used.
Eyes, heads up in the cloud.
Yeah.
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 And we if we can show this one from this book here, you see it in context.
Oh yes.
Okay, can we get a shot of that? Yeah.
Restraining a giraffe.
Right.
And also there's a monkey there.
1490 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This one is the resting or recumbent lion, Ru.
No, this is not Oprah Winfrey. This is for the people, and we're teaching.
Teaching.
This is educational television.
Right.
Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah. And here's the Medu Neter up in the corner. You see?
Okay.
Every one of these we have Medu Neter for. This is a very interesting one here. The elephant. You know, Abu. You know. And this is an African elephant. The thing about this, we call it elephant. That's a Greek word.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we call the city Elephantine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Elephantine Island. You know, the Africans didn't call it that. They called it Abu.
Mm-hmm.
When the Europeans came in, they had a predilection for naming things. You know, it'd be like I'd ask you, I said, what is your name? I said, well, okay, let's see how you're doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's not your name.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so what you have to do is begin to see things for what they really are. Look at it from your own internal frame of reference, and don't let anybody else interpret the language for you.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting is once you begin to read Medu Neter, you're looking at history from the inside. You're seeing it from your own internal frame of reference exactly as it was written.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the elephant, so we can put this one.
Okay.
This is an interesting one here. Niu, which is an ostrich.
How's that pronounced?
Niu.
Uh-huh.
N-I-W. You know, I'll show you these symbols. We'll go through these symbols in just a while. But this is also the feather of truth comes from the ostrich. The feather of Ma'at, which is balance, truth, harmony, and justice and reciprocity. Mm-hmm. I mean, who would just go to Africa to get an ostrich, you know, and make up the language like that? No, these are all African symbols.
Okay.
Okay. I found this one in Budge's book. This is the sable antelope. I don't have the Medu Neter for that, but it is attested to in his book.
Okay.
You know.
All African animals.
All African animals.
Found in the so-called
right.
that are known as Medu Neter.
Medu Neter. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This one is the crocodile, of course, and it's pronounced M-S-H, Meshe or Messe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the old Medu Neter, this S would be a Z, so it could be Mezeh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Of course, we really don't know how it's supposed to sound, but like I said, we try to use Coptic as much as possible. But again, Crocodilopolis,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
As a place.
yeah, as a place. And also, this was used as one of the deities.
What's the point you're making with that?
What the point that I'm making is, not only do you have to go back and rename all of the animals,
Mm-hmm.
you have to go back and rename all of the place names.
Mm-hmm.
We have to rename the people,
mm-hmm.
the country even. Everything
mm-hmm.
has to be renamed.